dice. You never know if it could change your life. Take a chance, you're neither wrong or right. You never know if you don't roll them dice.
In a world where D&D is changing slightly, two Jagoffs have the sheer willpower to weather the storm head on. The storm of OneDnd. Here with me live in the Mana Energy Drink Studios is the Swole Sage, the Pirate of History, the one Drew Scotsman, the original Dungeon Master of None. It's Rob. Hi, Rob.
Thanks for the intro, Matt. I'm glad to be here on two rock jocks. Those are dice. That's what we call them, rocks.
Yeah.
And
we're gonna sling some rocks, talk some jocks.
Hello, it's Dungeon Master of None.
I'm Matt,
as you heard, and I'm Rob. And today, indeed, we have the audacity to question the perfect design of a game initially created by a bored insurance salesman in the Midwest in the 70s. That's right. We are going to delve deep into the mechanics of the new OneDnd playtest materials. Now, the reason why you should listen to us is because we're right and we're smart. For example, we complained loudly and profusely about the proposed new advantage mechanic, which gave an additional die when you rolled a natural 20. And, hearing our complaints, they changed it. Now, as we suggested, you receive advantage if you roll a natural 1.
There we go. They're already listening to us on inspiration.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. But yeah, so they have released now two playtest packets, two materials. And this second one deals with, Matt, what are we looking at here?
We're looking at expert classes, and these are classes for advanced users, people who are experts. It's the Ranger, Rogue, and Bard classes. Plus, we got a lot more feats, and there's just a lot more showing up in the cracks of what they're talking about that are changes. That's experts. Yeah,
they added a bunch of stuff, but the core update here is that classes have been grouped into class groups, and our groups are now experts.
Classes of classes.
Classes of classes. Family, genus, So you got your experts, which includes Bard, Ranger, and Rogue, and then mages, priests, and warriors, which include all the things that you might expect those class groups to include.
I would have expected Ranger to be in Warrior, to be honest. But maybe I'm kind of excited that's an expert. Maybe it does work better here.
I like. I'm trying not to immediately come out of the gate critical. I understand, I think, what the intent was, and I like the idea of a Ranger as an expert class, but I'm not sure that they've done enough here to distinguish it as a class having or deserving of expertise, you know?
Right. Well, we shall see. I actually really like the basic idea here that, like, okay, we got all these classes, but at the end of the day, they do 4 things: divine magic, arcane magic, fight things, or do specialized skill things, right? And
sure, you've got your basic, British nobility, sons. You've got the expert, the priest, or the warrior, right? The one who goes to the military. You've got the one for the clergy, the priest. You've got your expert who goes into the merchant, and then merchandising, and then the outcast who delves into occult magics.
Right.
A fine 4 sons, and there's a place in D&D party for all of them.
Tinker, tailor, soldier, spy. I think there's like a lot that could be done with this. Like, some of the things I'm like already excited about is I'm sure you noticed that all the experts had common subclass levels. I'm like, oh, that offers interesting design space. Could you swap the subclasses around sometimes? Maybe they'll all have common subclass levels. I don't know. I just like the idea of grouping things for just both players and for people like us who like to design things.
I agree strongly with the idea of grouping classes into function or role to help better understand them and to make sort of the design a little bit more uniform. So I am pro the class grouping strategy. I have some quibbles with the execution, but I like the initial. I like making the design more uniform, which is what it seems like they're trying to do here.
Right. Like one example we got is that the warrior group is a prerequisite for taking feats that are fighting styles that are now feats, right? So we could see other things that are kind of locked to your class grouping, right? Which, you know, might make designing like alternate class features or just feats maybe a little more open, right? Okay, this is a feat that's only for, you know, divine priests, right? This is a feat that's only for warriors. I also really like the decision that was made throughout this to basically make the decision for whenever you're required to make a decision in character creation for players, right? They did this in backgrounds since the beginning of this edition, but now it's like, oh, are you rolling up a bard? Here are the spells you could take at first level that are common. Like, it just makes character creation so much easier for people who don't have any context at all for playing the game.
Yeah, I like the pre-chosen package of spells. This is a great. It's a thing that should have been probably included as an example in every edition. But yeah, now you have sort of like, here's what you have prepared, unless you want to choose something else. That's so much easier than, and it doesn't take up much space. It's great. I love it.
The one other thing I'll say about the expertise as a class group is it's one of my favorite abilities to get when I'm a player.
Oh, sorry. We should clarify. The other thing that experts have in common, in case this wasn't clear, is that they get the expertise ability. Like, that they're not
double
just
your proficiency on a skill.
Yeah, which was previously a little bit harder to acquire. Now all experts have it. Again, I like this generally. I think it, you know, binds all the classes together thematically into these class groups. It's cool. But sorry, it's one of your favorite abilities, Matt, you were saying?
Yeah, I mean, I love it when a player's like, I've got this really high bonus on this one skill. I mean, one of the downsides for game design is that if you can't get expertise through some way, and it seems like, you know, maybe there's still a feat that can grant it and stuff, to be that good at a skill, you've got to be like 10 levels higher than you are right now. It's a pretty dramatic change. I always wish there was like a halfway point in between the two. There's just more modular proficiency bonuses. I understand why there's not. I'm fine with it. But yeah, I like that all these classes get expertise. They all get it at least twice. And I assume if we got artificer rules, I don't know why they wouldn't include them in this. Like, why wouldn't they put the artificer in the core rulebook for the next edition? It seems like a mistake for me, because it's probably going to take them another year or two to release it after the initial release, and that just why. So I'm assuming artificer will get 2 things of expertise as well. Yeah,
that is interesting. I don't know why they would do that, but maybe it'll make it into the final playtest. Okay, let's
classes.
Okay,
before we talk about each class, I just let's take like 10 seconds and give our initial thoughts of the class from the last however many years, 8 years we spent playing this edition. Bard. I like the Bard. I think it's really powerful. Characters who play the Bard always have a good time.
I love the Bard. One of my favorite classes. Not particularly powerful, always useful, always fun. Needs a little help in some areas. Some abilities are really unloved, but it's a great class. Everyone has a good time. I love the Bard.
I would disagree. I think the Bard is like one of the most powerful classes in the game, even though in the previous edition you had a limited spell selection. You had almost as powerful attack spells as wizards. You had full access to healing. You have a ton of spells, and you have the like greatest buff mechanic in the game through Bardic Inspiration. I think Bard is like the best class, like power wise.
This is a DM's fallacy though, Matt. You and I play bards because we are DMs, and that is what we are drawn toward. in theory, yes, I think that bards are the most powerful class. In the way that they are played, they are never that way. I never see players use them to the full extent of their abilities. So you're correct that if properly optimized, they are absolutely like game breaking. But it's
like a bard is just like better than a sorcerer, and
oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
like a wizard
That's a sorcerer,
plus healing.
That's a sorcerer
plus,
problem though. That's
plus
a
buffing.
yeah.
Once you get magical secrets, and also you can play a bard that like is as good at fighting as
Yes.
anyone outside the fighter and the rogue and the rage.
I am
it's
not
crazy.
saying that a bard is not an amazing class. I love the bard. It's a great class. It's very powerful. A party of 6 bards would perform better than almost every other party that you could put together of 6 classes. It's just it takes a little bit of player knowledge to really get full use out of a bard, because there are a lot of things going on. And especially if you're a college of lore or something, you've got essentially infinite options, which can be overwhelming to players.
But not overwhelming anymore. I hope they really stick with this idea of like whenever you get expertise or a proficiency bonus or a spell, it gives you a suggestion as to what to take. So it's not overwhelming. Let's go through the features. Here's, I think, the first huge change is the Bard spell list has been dramatically pared down from a specific list that had a lot of spells. They're leaning into, we've got Arcane, Primal, and Divine lists. And bards now get the Arcane list with just 4 schools of magic: Divination, Enchantment, Illusion, and Transmutation. Sneakily, they've changed some of the most important spells to the bard theme, like Shatter and Thunderwave, from Evocation to Transmutation. Dancing Lights is now an illusion spell. But what do we think about this new bard spell list?
Well, this is where I got... So my assumption is that they are removing the spell lists as they exist. You no longer are like, these are bard spells, these are wizard spells. You are told your class can choose arcane spells from the following schools of magic. Now, here's my problem with that, I guess, is understandably choosing spells and understanding your class's spell list is complicated right now. It always has been. You got to go and you got to look at the book and you're like, what's in the bard spell list? What's in the wizard spell list? I don't know that this really fixes the problem. It just makes it complicated in a different way. And I can see this is going to trip me up. This is going to trip up all my players. Anybody who's been playing D&D 5e is going to stumble on this every single time, in my opinion. And that, I feel like that's going against the intent of this new edition, which is supposed to be both backward compatible and easier or simpler somehow. I don't want to be, I don't know. This is just, it feels complicated. You have to like check, is this a divination spell? Is it an enchantment spell? Is it an illusion spell? Like, at least you could look at like the bard spell list and be like, is it a bard spell? And this just feels like complicated in a different way that's going to especially cause problems for existing players of D&D.
I mean, for me, I still like the change because I like the idea of power source spell lists.
Yes, I love that. Sorry.
You're absolutely right, though. It's going to make it hell on players.
The thing that I love, I've already said that I love this, is that we now have power sources, right? Arcane, Primal, Divine. Is that it? It's Arcane, Primal, Divine. I love that. Yeah. I love dividing the spells into these 3 chunks. But if you can't find a way to just say, you cast from the whole Arcane spell list, or you cast from the whole Divine spell list, or you cast from the whole Primal spell list, then you've just sort of like shuffled it around and you've moved the complexity somewhere else. Sorry.
This could be fixed by, at the end of every spell class casting class, spending the page and a half or page of paper to print that class's spell list right there next to it in the handbook for people, right?
Yep.
Like,
I
that
think
would
this
be...
is what Pathfinder does, and other, it's not a, just list the spells.
Yes, you'll be listing them again when you list the whole Arcane, Primal, Divine, because lots of abilities key off of that. Like, for example, there are feats that are like choose 2 Primal spells, right? But yes, yeah, you'll print
But
them
then-
twice. Once
but
in the
that's
magic
simple,
chapter,
though.
once in the class thing. That's fine.
Because in the
Yeah.
magic chapter, you have arcane, divine, primal, and you know where to look. Even if, you have your spell list and you also have your power source. The schools of magic have not really been relevant for anybody but wizards for a long time, or not terribly relevant, and making players refer to them as going to, I don't know, man. I don't know about this.
I love the idea of schools of magic from like a world building perspective.
Oh yeah.
But one of my like favorite things is like cure wounds, right? Like the most probably in the history of the game being played, it is the spell that has been cast the most, right?
Almost certainly.
If there was some imaginary tracker in heaven that's keeping track of all our spells, cure wounds was a necromancy spell. And
Right.
then it moved to Conjuration for 3 editions. And now in this playtest, it's Abjuration. I mean, none of those completely make sense. Maybe Necromancy the most, but
Necromancy
yeah,
made
whatever.
sense, but people, I don't know, maybe they thought that was
Got
weird.
weirded out, but yeah. Abjuration makes the least sense to me.
It does.
But whatever. Bards also get a list of like the secondary healing spells that they add and are always prepared. Little ones like healing words, so they have something to do with their bonus action. The other big change of their spell casting is bards now prepare spells. So they know all their spells from the list, and at the beginning of every day, just like a wizard with their spell book, how a cleric works, right? They pick the spells they want to prepare. Preparing spells has also changed, right? In 5th edition, it was always like your level plus your spell casting modifier. That was how many spells you prepared.
Right.
And now you use the same table as your spell slots table for your prepared spells. Does this make it easier to understand or more confusing? I'm not sure. Maybe it makes it easier to understand, but then you have to ask the question, like, why do spell slots work the way they do? They don't work in the complete Vancian way where you cast one and it's gone forever, right? You can still cast as many spell slots of that level as you have left. I think it will be okay. I hope it doesn't confuse players. If it works in playtesting, this is a brilliant change because it lets players who are like, I don't know how to play a bard, I'm going to take the suggested spells. After playing it for a year, they're suddenly picking their spells, and they're enjoying that.
Yeah. I think that having prepared spells I think this is better. I think that my players have always struggled with spells known versus how many spells can I cast a day. And I think this makes this a little easier. I guess we'll see how it shakes out in playtesting.
Yeah. People hate Vancian magic because it sucks and it feels bad.
It sucks.
But
It's
it's
awful.
super easy to keep track of. You write your spells down and then you put a check mark next to them once you've cast them.
Yeah.
Bardic Inspiration, also huge change. Used to be a bonus action and it would last for like 10 minutes. Now it's a reaction off of your number of times per day proficiency modifier instead of charisma thing. What do you think about this? Bonus action to reaction.
I think this is good. I like this, especially since bards have things like healing word, other things to do with their bonus action. There's not a lot you can do with a reaction for most classes, so I like this. It's a little bit more of a dynamic and exciting playstyle. Not that bards are boring. I would say this is lateral, but I like it. I like to use reaction for, what is it? Rebuke or whatever. One of those. There's lots of fun bard spells that you can do as a reaction, but generally, I think your reactions are often going unused, and being able to step in and help somebody out or save them from going down, that's pretty exciting. That's fun for a bard.
I like it because it's definitely instead of the bard being like, remember I gave you the fucking inspiration, we'll
That's a
use
good
it.
point.
And the
Actually, that's a
person being
great
like,
point.
I don't want to use it yet, and the bard being a little frustrated. Now the bard gets to feel like the hero, right? Like, hey,
Right.
I made you. I made you draw that blood. That's my blood.
Instead of
whatever.
handing out a dice and being like, hey, use my dice, then they can just decide when to use it. It gives the bard more agency. That's a really good point, Matt. I often have to remind my players, but then they're like, oh, but you gave me an inspiration for bringing snacks. And I'm like, no, I mean a bardic inspiration. But now their inspiration die is not, there's not two things that are technically an inspiration die. Now it's just the bard inspires. So this actually I think is an improvement.
Yes, and it won't lead to confusion. I still think they need to change the name of Bardic Inspiration. Like, you just can't have two inspirations in the game. It's too confusing.
They should change the name of Inspiration. Bardic... They should change the whole mechanic to something else, because Bardic Inspiration is going to come up a lot more often.
Yeah. Anyway, so a couple other minor changes, like Jack of All Trades has moved to a lower level. Font of Magic has moved to 7th. Some things are gone, like Counter Charm that hardly ever came up. Bards lost the proficiency with long swords and rapiers. And we got the College of Lore subclass, which is still amazing, by the way. Still Magical great. Secret's still the best class ability in the game. What do we want to say on those? Oh, yeah, Cutting Words, so good. You just get 1,000,000 proficiencies, right? Mm-hmm. You are the best at skills as a College of Lore bard. I like their idea of, like, here's a list of 5 basically domain spells. They're called a repertoire, but they're very similar to the Warlock's bonus spells, the subclass of sorcerers that get bonus spells or a domain bonus spells. Mm-hmm. I would love if when this came out, or the next iteration of this playtest, is there were like 5 different repertoires to choose from. And it says, of course, most bards, or if you don't know what to choose the healing one. That one's always useful.
I mean, this is very simple. There's just a list of 5 spells. These are the Songs of Restoration. You could easily have Songs of War, or Songs of Magic, or Songs of Illusion, you know, and it's just a list of, you know, your 5 bonus. It would be great to be able to choose a different package, but I like this in theory.
Overall thoughts on the bard in this new iteration?
New bard's great. New bard is very similar to the old bard. A little bit of extra. Love it. None
Here's
of the things
my hot take
that got taken away really. Yeah. No, sorry. I wouldn't miss any of the things that got taken away. Those are some of those bonus things I mentioned that nobody ever used and got confused about. So
Counter Charm,
for example. It's simpler.
Yeah.
What's your hot take, though?
A great class. Here's my hot take is, as we'll see in a second, Rangers get up to 5th level spells. Artificers get up to 5th level spells. Those are 2 expert classes. Mm-hmm. People may get mad at me for this, but I think bards should only get up to 5th level spells. I think they should lower the amount of bards spell casting and up their ability to do their bardic music nonsense. That's great. That people like, right? I think bards work better in that sort of liminal space as not a full spellcaster.
Yeah, I agree. I never liked bards as full spellcasters. They should have been half from the very beginning. They're good enough without 9th level spells. Strong agree.
Yeah, give them more bardic inspirations per day. Give them that they recharge on a short rest all the time. Something. Let them lean more into their crazy skills. Give them back their like pseudo weapon abilities, so that they can kind of fight in melee combat too. Yeah. Like they're a jack of all trades. It's literally there in their name. They shouldn't lean full into spellcasting. Even if it's just, you know, the thing is, even though bards are only restricted to these 4, you know, schools of magic, and before they had a more restrictive spell list, with magical secrets and their repertoires, they still have like the full range of any of the other full spellcasters, right? They still have basically the same healing as a cleric. They still, you know, with their like attack spells, they still have blasting spells. Take them down a notch on their spellcasting, up their bardic ability. The bardic ability should be the primary feature of the bard, not the spellcasting.
I agree.
Yep. It probably won't happen because I can't see them in this like taking a class down a notch like this, because it would feel too bad to me.
No, they would never do it, but I haven't thought about it since the edition came out, but they should never have been 9th level spellcasters. They weren't in the past, and they didn't need to be.
And it's hard, it's really, really hard. So very, very hard. I make it look easy, but honey, believe me, it's hard. It's so incredibly hard. So inconceivably, unbelievably hard. to be the bard.
Well, speaking of another class that does a 5th level spellcaster, which means you start with cantrips, you go up to 5th level, same as the Artificer's spell list, it's the Ranger.
The Ranger.
The world's most confused class. Rob, what's your impression of the Ranger?
Unloved class.
Before we get it. Yeah.
The Ranger as is, yeah.
The Ranger as is, your history with the Ranger. What's your relationship with the Ranger?
I mean, I love the Ranger in theory, but in every edition since it was created, the Ranger has been an inferior fighter. Very occasionally, you could make a pretty cool Ranger with a pretty cool animal companion that felt unique and good, but most of the time, you just weren't up to snuff. You know, you weren't as good at fighting as the fighter. You weren't good at casting as anybody else. Your spells aren't very useful. Animal companions are kind of, well, in 5th edition, they're especially kind of weird. I love the Ranger in theory. This is a awkward design space, and it has always kind of not worked all that well.
Yeah,
don't get mad at me, Ranger fans. I'm not saying it's not cool to be a Ranger. Rangers are cool. They've always been kind of wonky, and that's a bummer.
Did you ever have a hunter in World of Warcraft? Yes, hunters.
I did. My first and most beloved class was a hunter. It was fun. I had a raptor that, went out and back and forth. It was awesome. It worked great.
People love this idea of the class. The problem with the D&D Ranger, I feel like, is it's like way too much baggage. It's like, are you like Aragorn, or are you like a baby druid, or are you just a fighter that's good at archery, or are you Drizzt Do'Urden?
I'm going to tell you exactly
something that tries to be all of those at once.
I'm going to tell you exactly what the problem with the Ranger is that has been the case since its creation, and it's probably not going to surprise you. It's favorite enemy. Because of favorite enemy, Ranger cannot be properly balanced. They are either too powerful or not powerful enough, and this preposterous, just, I don't know, I don't even remember what the origin of this is, why this needed to be, but it makes it impossible to create a Ranger that is functional in all contexts. It drives me fucking bonkers. And OneDnd does not fix the problem. It just creates a whole new problem. So we'll get to that in a second.
Okay, well, I think the OneDnd version of the Ranger is the best version of the Ranger we've seen so far. They've chosen the identity, which is, okay, you are a mixed, attacker spellcaster, focusing on the primal spell list minus evocation, so all of their like utility and healing spells. And favored enemy is now just the Hunter's Mark spell, but it's like always prepared, and it's always kind of works well for you, which is a weird way to do an ability. Like, if it's a core part of your class, why is it like, go look at this spell for the thing that you're going to do most often? What do you think of favored enemy? Let's start with favored enemy.
So at first level, you get favored enemy, which means that you always have Hunter's Mark prepared, and it doesn't count against your spells, and you don't have to concentrate on it. So basically, Rangers can use Hunter's Mark at will. Right? This is to balance the fact that they don't get smite, so they don't do as much damage as paladins, and they don't have bonus fighting stuff the way that fighters do. Right? This is
right.
So
it's their smite. That's a great thing, right?
Yeah.
It burns a spell slot. It does extra damage.
So my issue, so this is better than what we have right now, and it works, and it allows Rangers to keep up and feel dangerous and powerful. But it's clearly like a cobbled together solution, like exactly like you said. Like, why do you got to go check a spell list to know like what you're supposed to be doing? And you got to do this to every enemy to be to do enough to do damage. Otherwise, like, why are you playing a Ranger? And Matt is right. They've decided on an identity for the Ranger, and I don't feel it. I don't feel this identity. A partial spellcaster with some primal spells, but also they've still got dual wielding scimitars or archery. It's too many things. And an animal companion, I'll tell you what I think a ranger should be, but I
They should be genocidal border enforcement agents for the state of Texas.
that's exactly right. That's exactly what they are.
What do you think a ranger should be? Let's get into this before we talk about what we think of.
I don't think rangers should be spellcasters. I think that rangers should be. I think they should have animal companions. I think that should be sort of that's the core identity, right? That's the thing that makes them different from a paladin and a fighter and a rogue, right? Is they have an animal companion. An animal companion is cool. An animal companion works in most settings, right? You can even have a hawk, right, that fights with you. It doesn't have to be like a panther stalking the streets of Waterdeep or something. Right. But even if it is, that's fine. But like all this other stuff, generally, like it kind of doesn't fit outside of like a wilderness campaign, and they should just be good at fighting. And I don't know like how you want to. There's lots of other options besides Hunter's Mark, but you can give them extra damage in one way or another. I think that they should. I think they should do away with the built-in dual wielding or archery, pick a fighting style nonsense. It like half the time like encourages people to think that they're Dristorden. So I don't know. I think that they should way simplify the ranger and emphasize that you are a cool guy who fights with his neat animal friend. That I think that should be like the thing that a ranger does that's different from other martial classes.
Yeah, I think the animal friend is should be the core of the ranger class. I agree with you. I also agree with you that the ranger should be like a martial class that doesn't, maybe one subclass gives spell casting, but not automatically. I think favored enemy is in its current form, which is just Hunter's Mark, is a fine core component, right? It's like you focus on one target, and I'm going to bring that down. I think you get rid of the spellcasting, you replace it with an animal companion. That would be better. That is probably pretty unlikely because
that's extremely unlikely. All the things I described are not going to happen.
Yeah. So I have to say, if you are going to make a ranger, basically the protector of the wild, who is at tune with nature's spirits and is a spellcaster, it is way better that they get spellcasting at first level. It lets people know this is part of their character's identity, and I love that the ranger got rid of all of its weird like situational bonuses, and you just replace it with expertise. You want to be an urban ranger? Perfect. You take your expertise in, perception and insight or something like that. Done. That's great. I love the flexibility there.
For all of my griping, this is the best ranger yet. This has been stripped of much of its much of its baggage. It's just I still don't think it's like quite there. But given how wonky even the redesigned ranger is in 5th edition, this is definitely an improvement. And I will say that so far this is the clearest flat out improvement that I've seen. A lot of things could go either way, but the ranger is definitely better than it used to be.
Yeah, this is, I think, the best ranger we've ever seen, and by far the most powerful one. I hope it doesn't get nerfed into oblivion, because it if you build an optimized hunter ranger, which is all that we have here, you are doing a lot of damage.
It is a lot of damage, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you if you've got your Hunter's Mark off, that's bonus damage. We're going to talk about 2-weapon fighting in a little while. That's way better now. And if you're a hunter, you're doing bonus damage to wounded targets. And then also the other cool thing is many of the ribbons about this class that suck are gone. The ones that are cool, like move faster, I think that was an alternate ability in Tasha's, or turn invisible, just using your own connection to nature, are still there, because those are cool and understandable and useful. This is a good version of the ranger. There's still so many things that you mentioned that bug me, rangers get a fighting style at 2nd level, right? And they can take other fighting style feats as if they're in the warrior class, but they're restricted to archery, defense, or 2-weapon fighting. Why can't you be a ranger with a big axe? You're a monster hunter is one interpretation of this class. Why can't you kill monsters with a big axe? I don't know. Still so many frustrating things about the Ranger. But yeah, it's sad we're so negative when this is the best version of the Ranger I have seen in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Outside of World of Warcraft.
It's
maybe
a good
4th
Ranger.
edition. A couple things that came up when we were looking at the Ranger that I noticed were different. Like there was this bark skin redesign. Bark skin is now like temporary hit points. I kind of really like that.
Oh yeah, I like that too.
And then one of the suggested cantrips for the Ranger was guidance, which guidance, if you remember, is like a cantrip, so you can cast as many times as you want. It adds a D4 to ability checks. So like anytime you're making a skill check, someone should cast guidance on you if you're doing it in a prepared or optimized way. Now it is a reaction. What do you think about this? So, someone makes an ability check, you react, you add a D4.
I feel the same way as I do about the bard change. It's interesting. I don't know if it's better or worse. I mean, one annoying thing about guidance as it is that a smart party will just cast it all the time before you make a check. I don't know if casting it after you make a check is better or different or worse, but
Here's my hot take. I thought about this one way too much, right? Is that guidance is either completely useless, like it was in like 3rd edition or whatever, or just like so hard to remember like it was in 5th edition. And now with it as a reaction, there's no reason you wouldn't want it. So it's going to be like a delay every time anyone makes an ability check if your party is playing in an optimized way. And I think maybe it should go. I think it should be chucked. Like I think it's just too hard to balance. Like it's a flat bonus to everything. Like it's either going to suck or it's going to be a thing you need every time. And that's not something we want in the design of D&D.
I agree. I think that it's either completely necessary or it's useless and you really can't balance it any other way.
Yeah, I mean, like there's Bless, but Bless is
right.
perfect because it takes a resource, right?
Yeah.
So you just can't have something like this that doesn't take a resource.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Maybe there's some other version of guidance that like only applies to like a much narrower range of things. I can't imagine what that would be, but this just isn't it, right?
Yeah. I agree. It's too bad because I kind of like guidance, but the way that it works is, it's not fun. It doesn't like add anything to the game.
I actually think maybe a fun way of guidance that would be a boost for Divine and Primal's characters who often don't get to be the center of attention is it's a cantrip that adds a bigger bonus as a bonus action, but you can only cast it on yourself. Like you pray for guidance, not for someone else, but for yourself. Sure, it goes against the identity of most of these characters as support ones, but throw them a bone,
I like that.
But then, of course, you would take it with magical secrets for every character that wants to be good at a skill. Okay, no, it's bad. See, this is the problem, right? Is if you make it in a way that's useful, it's going to be it's going to be necessary in order to be the best. Okay, final thoughts on our good friends, the Texas Rangers.
Well, Matt, all I'll say is that when you're in Texas, look behind you because that's where the Rangers gonna be.
Oh, fuck me. Stupid fucking state. Anyway, next is yes. we kept our basically colonizing police force around.
We kept our posse. You kept our literal
literal have massacred villages,
paramilitary. It's pretty cool that Texas gets to keep its violent colonial paramilitary force. That's Texas exceptionalism right there.
Yeah, and we're gonna exceptionalist our way straight to hell. Cue the Dr. Strangelove riding the bomb down to Moscow scream.
That's right.
Yee-hee!
'cause the eyes of the ranger are upon you. Any wrong you do, he's gonna see. When you're in Texas, look behind you, 'cause that's where the ranger's gonna be.
All right. The next up is the rogue.
The rogue.
What's your thoughts about rogues?
I love rogues.
Are you
I
a
always love
lovable
rogues.
rogue?
I have the 5th edition rogue, for whatever reason, has always felt a little kneecapped, and I can't really put my finger on it, but it never really seemed like it had as many cool things as previous editions of rogues. But I still love rogues in general, and some of the later subclasses really added some neat identities to rogue.
Yeah.
I think there's some really cool design
Mastermind.
space. Mastermind, for example. There's some really cool design space in rogue. One of my favorite classes. I also like classes with lots of skills, and rogues get lots of skills and can do lots of things. So I've always been pro rogue. Sneak attack is kind of a nuisance because it's always a pain. It's always like, how do I get this sneak attack? Do I have sneak attack here? Do I have sneak attack here? You know, they remove flanking. Great.
Well, I've got some good news for you in just a second. But I also always love rogues. They're iconic. The flavor fits, and the class itself is flexible enough that like you don't have to make an actual like burglar who's like wearing a hood all the time. Like it can represent so many things. I also agree. In 5th edition, they need a lot of work. I think they're a little bit underpowered. And I think they're not as interesting to play as the promise of the rogue commits. But that's like a broader problem with non-spellcasters. Like it's a broader martial problem. It's it's funny. So I watch all of the videos of D&D's hype man Todd interviewing Perkins about all these changes. This is like an hour of videos. Everyone should give me a cookie for doing this. In the video about the rogue,
nobody asked him to do this. I didn't ask him to do this. I didn't
no one
do
asked
it.
me to do this.
Matt just volunteered for this torture. Anyway, thank you for your service.
In the video about the rogue, Chris Perkins said, like, well, we did a bunch of, I don't know why I'm doing a Chris Perkins impression. He doesn't sound like this. He sounds very normal. He's like, we did a bunch of like surveys, and the rogue is the one that has like the like highest class satisfaction. Like people love the rogue. They love their satisfaction with like every feature. It's in the like 90% or almost every feature. And then to that, and so he said, because of that, we've changed the rogue the least. And I think we'll discover this when looking at its features. And to that I would respond, yeah, people like the idea of the rogue, but like it's still not as good as other classes. Like it could still use more. You should still change the rogue more than you did, even though people are satisfied to it.
People
I think
just
it was a
like
window.
playing rogues.
Yeah, people love playing rogues. They love.
They would
sneak
like it if it
attack.
were better. They'd probably like it if it were worse. People just like to play rogues. That's why they're satisfied.
Yeah.
They want to be a rogue. They like sneak attack. Everyone likes rolling a bunch of dice. That doesn't make it a good class.
Right. I found it revealing because I wonder. This is just one anecdotal statement by one of the developers, but I was like, are they doing this whole thing based off of like market feedback? Like, obviously that's super useful. You should know if people are satisfied with something or not. But like, there's more to game design than that. Like, I'm very satisfied when I played a rogue, but like, I also could feel the ways in which the class was lacking. Right. I think in 5th edition, because I'm not often a player, the rogue my rogue in your campaign was the character I had the most hours in, and. Boy, could I feel the lack of options in, for example, combat.
Yeah. One of the worst phenomenons of the 21st century is the emergence of data-based creation, like movies, TV shows, books, RPGs. Like, sure, it's good to know what your audience wants, but people are idiots, and I include myself in this, and they like stuff that sucks. and you should make things that are good and fun and interesting and possibly challenging, whether or not the focus testing says that's what people want. And so I don't give a shit if everybody who plays a rogue is happy playing a rogue. You're the creator, and you should make a good class. This is nebulous to you. I don't know if I feel this way about Chris Perkins. I'm just saying, like, when you sit down to create something, to do, let us place role-playing games in the category of art for the sake of conversation here. You should know, I guess, whether or not you have infuriated your fans or whatever. But ultimately, you should create the thing that you think is good. You know? I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it, Matt.
Rob, would you say that Rotten Tomatoes is the worst app created in the last 10 years?
I would have at one point, but now I think that we've gone even further beyond that, and all these Netflix and Amazon and HBO have their own hideous marketing algorithm which spits out increasingly gray schlock that that the largest number of people will consume with the least amount of complaints. It's loathsome.
Yeah. Speaking of Netflix, I started watching Mo last night, and as a Houstonian, everyone's got to see
heard good
Mo.
things about that.
Is very good. Anyway,
sorry, I want to watch that because it's Houston based. Anyway,
yeah, it's very Houston. The thing that like having all of these numbers and like satisfaction or approval of things has really spoilers for an upcoming episode has warped the brain of some of those, like, especially the people whose brains were already had a propensity to be warped. It's driven people completely insane. Like, I've been stumbling into the sort of reactionary wing of Dungeons and Dragons players and creators, and the time they spend obsessing over like things like Rotten Tomatoes scores for movies or Metacritic or Steam scores for video games, like, insane. Like, why would you care that much about, like, either go see the movie or don't, like, play the video game or don't, like, read a thing about it and decide if you want to see it, and who cares? Like, at the end of the day, it's like 2 hours of time. Like, it has driven people insane that there is a number grade for things.
Sorry, I will actually say the reason why, specifically about Rotten Tomatoes, the reason why it's actually not as bad as what is now like Metacritic is because that's an aggregation of, sorry to be a snob, but of critic scores, right? Which means that the people who are rating something on Rotten Tomatoes have some taste and expertise theoretically. So even though a Rotten Tomato score isn't, and you should ignore it as you see fit, it's still better than the IMDb ratings or the Steam scores or whatever else, like,
or the Rotten Tomatoes scores,
the
right? Sorry, that was what I was talking about. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Anyway, sorry. There's no wisdom of crowds. You're all idiots. We're all idiots. We're all herd animals. Society was a mistake.
All right, Rust. All right. So the rogue. Let's talk about some of the actual changes. So I think one of the big ones is that isn't actually in the rogue class. I want to get out of the way first, which is the changes to 2-weapon fighting. Without getting too much into the details, it's no longer a bonus action to do it. You can just do it as part of an attack, like extra attack. This is huge. Like, rogues needed their bonus action for other things, like hiding or, I don't know, dashing. Now they can 2-weapon fight. So can rangers.
This is a great change. Now, if you're just using a light weapon in your offhand, you can make another attack. I don't know why it wasn't like this from the beginning. You have to have a light weapon in 2 hands. You have to take a feat to do, like, let's say a long sword plus a short sword. Which is great. 2 short swords? No nothing wrong with that. 2 daggers, 2 short swords. What else is there? I don't know. Anyway, it's easy. It's simple. It's beautiful. I don't know. Dart is a light weapon. The dart is a light weapon. And anyway, with the new throwing rules, you can draw and throw 2 light weapons. That's right. So anyway, so this is Matt's right. This is a shadow buff to the rogue. They can now 2-weapon fight and still use their cunning action, which is way better used on dash, disengage, or hide. And yeah.
I mean, it's a huge buff to two-weapon fighting for everyone, but
Yes.
the rogue is the one that needs it the most,
Right.
because here's the thing I noticed playing rogue up to 13th level is getting one attack if you're using your bonus action for something else sucks balls. Yes, you may have advantage from it because you snuck off and hid and then jumped at someone or whatever. But if you miss that one attack, you're done, right? And every other class has more things to do, and rogues need more than one attack per round to hopefully guarantee that they land a sneak attack. So this is a huge buff. It means that rogues kind of need to two-weapon fight, but I'm kind of okay with that. You know, the rapier and dagger seems fairly iconic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this is great. Yeah, this has always been my experience with rogue players, is that when they do well, they're very excited, but if they miss, that's their whole round, and that's a bummer.
Yeah, it's boom or bust. Okay, there are other, so they get expertise at first level still. Same, a lot of the things are unchanged. Okay, but let's get this out of the way. Rob, you have major feelings on Thieves' Cant, well known to our listeners. Thieves' Cant now gives Thieves' Cant plus another language.
It's dumb, Matt. It's dumb. I don't need to talk about.
But here's an easy fix for it now. Is Thieves' Cant, you could still leave it in, and you could say Thieves' Cant. You can learn Thieves' Cant plus another languages or two languages of your choice, right? That way, if you still want to have Thieves' Cant, you can have it. If you just get more languages, perfect.
I mean, I love more languages. I love that for the rogue. I'm just like, they're not all thieves. Why do they all know Thieves' Cant?
Here's
Whatever.
actually maybe a more substantial change that I would make is I would say Thieves' Cant at this level, or we can call it something else. We could call it what do you call it when you like tell someone something without like saying it, right? You make a little gesture.
Sure.
There's a very basic word for it. I can't remember it. We've been drinking too much.
Well, I've lost it too. Yeah.
I would say it's like one of those abilities where it's like you can communicate with people you know well, a one-word phrase without anyone else knowing it. Plus, you learn two bonus languages, like and
great.
it could be through symbols, sign languages, or gestures, or emphasis in your speech, right? And you're like, you have a bunch of like little signs that you can use with people who are in the know. Because that's useful. Like, that's kind of a cool social situation thing to be able to be like, one word. I'm lying right now. You communicate that to your party, right? Or follow my lead or something like that. Okay, what other changes do we got for the rogue? Let's see. I'm still frustrated you can't make a strong rogue. Sneak attack is still limited to finesse.
I've given up on complaining about this. We talked about this last time with the rogue I was trying to build. Didn't really work. Yeah. Speaking of, sorry, we're jumping ahead to the subclass. If we're talking about not being
That's
able
fine.
to
We
make
can
it.
talk about the thief.
The only example subclass we have here is the thief. And some of this is good and some of this is bad, but I have some. The third level ability, second story work, is just this is what it says. You gain a climb speed equal to your speed, and when you take the jump action, you can make a dexterity check instead of a strength check. That is real. It does not feel. It does not feel rewarding to me, especially since you should honestly, I think, just be able to make a jump action with your dexterity instead of your strength, like innately. I don't know why that's not just like a core part of the game. And as I think as you pointed out to me, you can get that first thing, the climb speed, from a bunch of other stuff, and it's
right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Don't be a thief and take the athlete feat, otherwise you won't get the benefits from both. I mean, so third level thieves also get fast hands, which gives them more things they can do with their cunning action, which is cool. You can take the search action. You can make a sleight of hand check, but like those are not useful enough in and of itself to make this a really good, because this is, the very first feature of your, and we compare it to like the Bard subclass 3rd level feature or the Ranger one, and those are amazing. Like,
Yeah.
I would love to see, for your bonus action, you can make a, like a thrown weapon attack, or for your bonus action, you can use a device, and it lists device like Alchemist's Fire or Acid, or it could be a magic wand or a scroll. You can do those as a bonus action. Like, that would be amazing. Imagine if a thief could, throw an Alchemist's Fire as a bonus action, right? I think the search one is good. Yeah, I think climb speed is good. The jump one, like, really sucks because jump is an action now, and you can't take a jump as a bonus action. So if you want to jump, that is your entire turn. That's more of a critique of the jump rules than this, but yeah, that's fucked up.
6th level.
However, the rest of the thief is great, right? You have advantage on stealth. Use magic device could use a little more love. It's not quite as powerful but it's in the right direction, same as it was in 5th edition.
Use a magic device is a great ability, and I'm glad the thief gets it. It needs a little love.
It needs to be more powerful. It's still underpowered, just like it was in the original edition. Thief's Reflexes, however, is great. I think one of these should be like switched around. I think they should get this earlier. You basically get Action Surge, but for your bonus action. This is awesome, right? Because you have lots of things you want to use that cunning action for. I think overall the rogue, a couple of things were moved around, but like a lot of the core of the class is fine. I just think the rogue, especially compared to these other classes we're looking at, is not as interesting or as powerful. It needs a little love to be up to where the new Ranger and Bard would be. My suggestion would be like, rogues are the most expert of experts. Their expertise is for 3 skills instead of 2. And rogues already get an additional feat. They get one at 10th level. I would say give them one at like 5th level or something like that. Give them they should get 2 extra feats in the first 10th level of class. That would, with the new feats, which we'll get to in a second, that's a huge buff. Give some rogues a little more power, I think.
I mean, they aren't spellcasters, so you could give them a lot of things, and it wouldn't make them too powerful, in my opinion. I wish that Wizards would err on giving their increasingly small number of non-spellcasting classes more stuff. Just give them lots of stuff, because they're still ultimately not going to be as powerful as a spellcaster. And yeah, the rogue is fun, but you could just give it more feats, give it more expertise, give it more abilities that do unique things, and it would not break the game, break the class. Yeah.
The great thing about some of this stuff we've been talking about, specifically related to cunning action, is that the hide and the search mechanics, they're now their own action. So I think this would be a good time to talk about those. Search is defined as you have to take an action, and with different skills, it lists things that you can detect, right? Like Insight can determine a creature's state of mind. Perception locates a missing or a hidden creature or object. Like, we know all this. I love having it written down as this takes an action to take. It makes rogues much more powerful since they can use their bonus action to do it. And hide has been completely rewritten, and I think is much, much more clear. There's a base DC to hide of 15. It can go higher if, creatures have higher perceptions. But I like this. I like that rogues have a chance to fail low levels. By the time they get higher, they're almost never going to fail. A thief is never going to fail. The basic hide, though a cunning creature could still see them.
Yeah, this is a much needed and much clearer adjustment. It's crystal. You make this, you're hidden. Whatever you hit is the DC for a creature to find you with their wisdom, their perception check. Beautiful. It's perfect. It makes a lot of sense. Thieves, like Matt said, exactly right. Rogues will probably put points in expertise, stealth. Thieves will have supreme sneak. They'll probably never fail this, or very rarely. Great. It's perfect. Yeah. Both of these are great changes.
It's always a little fuzzy, and you need a little bit of using your DM smarts when it says, like, when a creature if you have line of sight on the creature, it automatically spots you. Like, you need to remember like creatures are facing a certain way, and like it's not impossible for a rogue to sneak up on someone who is 5 feet away from all cover, right? You should still be able to get to them, right? Or they should only be able to spot you when it's your turn, their turn, or something. There could be a little more. There can never be too much clarification and thought put into writing the hiding rules, because they've always been a shit show, and they've always hurt players' brains and made something that is like a fairly basic idea that we've all been doing since we were children, hiding.
Right.
Just really painful. So, but it's a step in the right direction. Okay, we got 2 more things to talk about, Rob. Final thoughts on the rogue.
I think we covered it all. It's good.
More power.
Make it more powerful, but it's fine.
My final thought of the rogue is like, marshals just need maybe like more ways to attack or more ways to do interesting things in combat. I like the idea of giving them lots of climb speeds and stuff like that. But we gotta buff the core game mechanics for that to change, it seems. Okay, we've got 2 other sections, which are feats, or 3 other sections: feats, spell lists, and just kind of the rolling main rules glossary. I have a couple just minor things I want to talk about in each of those sections.
Sure.
We hit on this already. Feats are, now a core part of the game. And now we have in this playtest document 4th level and 20th levels feats. So feats have level. The 4th level ones are all like half feats. An ability score improvement plus a cool thing. Yeah, do you have any like favorites or standouts? I have some or thoughts about having levels of feats.
Yeah, I think this is clarifying-ish, and some of these I think are awesome. I love Charger. Charger restores a core D&D functionality that I kind of missed, to be honest. I know that 3.5 had lots of problems with charge being abused, but I like that it is now a feat and it lets you do something cool when you charge. Others, I don't really like so much.
And if we gave Rogue more feats, it would fix the Marshal, because then they could take Charger without feeling bad about it.
Like Defensive Duelist, this kind of sucks. So there's like, in general, the idea I like. The feats themselves, some are great, like Charger I like, and some are I don't know, Matt, what do you think?
Right, Defensive Duelist is like so restricting. Like, you've got to have a finesse weapon, and like it has to be your dexterity. I think here's a big take is like, Rob, if you were, let's say, like not a variant human and not getting bonus feats from your class, is there still very much reason to not just take the ability score increase at 4th and 8th level, assuming you start with a 16 to get to 20 in your primary ability score? Like, that's really hard to pass up.
Yeah, none of these are better really than an ability score improvement, to be honest.
They're close though. Like,
they're
durable
closer.
is cool.
They're better. Yeah, durable is good.
It lets you heal yourself now. That's awesome. Like, that's amazing. This is so good for like fighter types or barbarians or something.
And like, I could definitely see myself taking some of these because they let you do something cool. But in all those cases, and this isn't a bad thing, but you're taking a mechanically kind of like a less optimal option because you want to do something interesting, and I don't think you should ever have to be forced to make that decision.
One thing I love is that fighting styles are now feats. It opens up the design space. Do you want a fighting style where your class didn't normally give you one? You can now take it if you're a warrior. Do you want more than one fighting style? Finally, you can have one without being like a champion fighter or something like that. I love this moving things like fighting style into feats. I think more of these kind of cross-class abilities could be moved into the feat realm.
I agree. It will never make sense to me why they didn't do this from the beginning, why they tried to, like, this is just, these are options that are needed for Dungeons and Dragons. The direction they're going with feats is an improvement for sure. I just want to see more, and I want them to be better.
I'm not going to criticize this because it's probably going to come up in the warrior class thing, but like the fighting styles themselves still suck. Like, they didn't fix any of the ones that are no fun, like the big weapon user or something. It's still like not mechanically good. I'm sure that I'm not gonna criticize that because that seems like a more appropriate place to re-release the fighting styles. I noticed things like
great
sharpshooter
weapon
and
fighting
great
would be a
weapon
lot better if the falchion were still in the game. It were still a 2d4, but it's not.
The 2d4, the magic 2d4 that no other weapons use.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it.
The average of 5 damage. It's worse than a longsword in 2 hands. Sharpshooter and Great Weapon Master, the feats that let you take a -5 to get a +10, that were basically like if you wanted to be the most effective fighter or archer, were must-takes, right? They were mechanically useful in 90% of the situations, are gone. I think that's a good thing because those were broken.
They were broken.
I would like to see fixed versions of things like that.
What was broken about them was that they were just substantially more impactful than any other feat you could take. Like,
yeah,
if a player was like, I'm taking Great Weapon Master, I'm like, shit, he's going to do like 15 damage a hit, just if he hits. And there's like nothing else in the game that will let you do that kind of damage, which I'm not opposed to. It was just like those 2 feats were so out of sync with everything else in the design space. So yeah, the new versions are better. Would I take them? Probably not, but
This came up in the Bard class before, but like there's a change to a ritual caster and ritual casting in general. Now the rules are, instead of having to take the ritual caster feat or a class like wizard that gave you the ritual casting feature, in order to ritually cast a spell, you just have to have that spell prepared. This is a huge simplification, but it means that ritual casting now is just 10 minutes to save a resource, as opposed to letting you do those rare, utility spells that aren't that useful whenever you want. So if you want Unseen Servant, you still have to prepare it as one of your spell slots. You don't have to use a resource to cast it. You can take 10 minutes. It's a huge nerf to ritual casting, but it makes it more accessible. I dislike the change, but I can see why people might like it.
I'm with you. The same things that you like about ritual casting, I liked about it. I understand why they changed it.
What? It's not a problem that you can cast Alarm at any time. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
You want to create an alarm space? Good for you for thinking of that. Let's see. So we talked about the change to 2-weapon fighting. This is huge. This is really good. In the way one of the feats was worded, it made it seem like acrobatics might be a strength skill now, or they're really leaning into decoupling skills from their ability scores. I mean, either of those, in my opinion, is good.
Yeah, that would be good. It doesn't seem like... It seems like that would be a big change. Decoupling, I don't know, but we'll see.
Here's another great change, and I think one that's more like, the great change is that all the classes' capstones in these have been moved to 18 instead of 20.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So you actually get to use them, I mean, the thing that still sucks is that some of the capstones are like, blah. They haven't like made them all really cool.
The reason why they were able to move them is because most capstones are pretty blah to begin with. So, but at least you have a chance to maybe play an 18th level character.
And then at 20th level, you start your epic level progression, and you start taking epic level boons. You get your first one at 20th level. If you want to play into epic levels, you continue taking epic boons. The epic boons are, as far as I could tell, completely unchanged from what they were in like the DMG and Mordenkainen's. So I think those still need a complete rewrite to be more epic. Like, some of them are great. You're proficient in like every skill. That's cool. Like, that feels epic to me. Others are not so cool.
Yeah.
Some other things I noticed is that exhaustion was completely reworked. It's now a cumulative -1 penalty. At -10, you die. Whereas before, exhaustion was like, if you took 1 level of exhaustion, like, you were kind of fucked.
Yeah.
Like, if you took 2, you were completely useless. I like that it's a much more minor penalty, and as a dungeon master, I'm more likely to use it. and I think players are more likely to want to get rid of it.
I liked exhaustion, but it was hard to apply it, and it was very, very punishing. So this is better.
I think we already mentioned we like the idea of switching heroic inspiration down to a 1 instead of a 20. Of course, it has to be a 1 that you take. There can't be any way to re-roll or get out of it. Yeah, I think this is a great way to do it. We'll see how it works in practice. All the same problems with inspiration of, still apply. But I think it's a huge improvement.
Like we talked about, they've actually gone through the trouble of writing out some things, actions, conditions, much of which we discussed, which they either wrote very little about or hid somewhere in the book. And this is much needed clarification in general. Just lots of terms have been defined that needed to be defined previously.
Speaking of defining things, we have so many more actions, right? In the core game of 5th edition, there were like 4 actions, right? And they were all mostly related to combat. Now we have specific rules for search, study, magic as an action. Not really a verb, but, whatever. Influence, jump, and help. Any thoughts on these, on writing these out as an action? They all require ability checks, usually.
Hide, yes. Jump, no. I don't know. Jump has always been a part of movement. I don't.
Yeah, it makes it feel really bad if you jump. You're not doing anything else interesting this turn. Sorry.
Also, the goofy thing about jump in every edition of D&D is that mathematically you just can't jump very high or very far, and it was fine because you weren't.
Or in this one,
like
because you're spending an action. Yeah. In this one
just
though,
it's
with
just
the basic rules,
another thing to make marshals feel worse than casters who get levitate at level 3 and will never need to jump ever again for the rest of their adventuring lives. I don't know. This is
yeah.
This gets 2 thumbs down from Rob.
It's weird in that if you have a flat bonus, if you have no bonus jump, let's say you have a 0 strength, no relevant proficiencies, your jump is between 5 feet and 20 feet. Which is like such a huge range, right? Like the average person can do a 20-foot long jump. Like I haven't ever, Rob, I'm going to be honest with you here. Full confession. I've never actually tried to do a long jump. I've never jumped into a sand pit like they do on TV, on the TV. I don't think I could jump 20 feet.
I could not jump 20 feet. You could not jump 20 feet. Most people could not jump 20 feet. Even with a running start.
Well, most people in OneDnd can jump 20 feet if they roll a 20, and they can jump 5 if they
10 strength and 10 dexterity. I mean,
yeah, it's just a huge range.
This is the issue with simulationist, whatever. But this is goofy, and it's always been goofy. And either fix it or leave it where it is, which is nobody knows the rules to jump until the one time in the entire campaign that somebody has to jump and you look them up.
Yeah, and it depends. The results of which will determine whether the stupidest person at your table falls to their death or not. Sorry. I love my jump boys and girls and them. Yeah. One thing I noticed about these actions is I love this clarification. All of them had like really like clear rules from very, very clear, like for hide and influence. Influence, really great, like clarifications on like how you're determining whether someone's a hostile person can be talked to, and plenty of leeway for the dungeon master to interpret the results and, still make it a good social action. The one that didn't have any rules at all was like study. It's like you study a creature. Yeah, but like if I roll a 20, what does that mean? I know, we could have used more clarification on study, but I love the idea of giving more specific actions for players.
Yeah, I agree with this general direction for sure. Maybe we may jump a bonus action. Why isn't jump a bonus action? I don't know. Sorry. I'm still thinking about jump.
At the very least, it should be a bonus action for like everyone. If not for maybe just marshals or something.
That would be good. Yeah, warriors.
At least for rogues.
Warriors are, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, enough about jump.
Enough about jump. Here we get to the final part, which is the core of, now that we've gotten into all these classes and actions, the core of 5th edition, one of the problems, I think, is it's like hidden and weird action economy, which I think can be fixed in 2 ways. One, like some clear rules of like hey, when we're in rounds, you have movement, you have an action, you have a bonus action, and you have a reaction. And these are all things you got to like know. Because in regular 5th edition, all of that exists. It's all just hidden in specific abilities and spells and what have you. My personal preference would be a redo of the action economy. We've talked about how we like Pathfinder 2nd editions. That I know is not going to happen, but like this could be fixed with some clearer rules writing without really any changing anything. But again, the action economy in 5th edition is still foobar.
I think we should save this conversation for when we have more playtest materials, but ultimately they're too cowardly to make the changes that they need to make to like really fix what's broken, but they're still like too bold enough to make changes that don't necessarily need to be made. That I think this is just going to be a big like reshuffling, and I don't think from what I'm seeing, it's going to
end up about the same. You know, it'll probably be better. But,
some things will be better, some things will be worse. Like here's the thing. 3.5 was a improvement ultimately over 3rd edition. I think that they did make like some necessary fixes, and the ultimate result was better.
But it was basically still the same.
And it was backwards compatible, but like it was a change, right? It was a significant, and that doesn't seem to be happening here. Like it's just going to be a bunch of things are different. Some are better, some are worse. I don't know.
I think 60% of the action economy problems that like don't relate to like character optimization but just play at the table could be fixed with a clear set of rules, a clear like explanation of what the action economy is. I think Wizards is too ashamed and embarrassed
to admit that their action economy needs describing and like needs some rules that's not inherently obvious.
If you take half a page to describe it, you sound insane. You sound like, who would make such a game? Okay, on your turn, you take one action, but most classes get a bonus action. A bonus action is different than action. They're not swappable. Also, you move. Your movement is not an action, except when you jump. Also, you take a reaction. It's just like, it is super complicated and embarrassing to explain, but it's like underlying the core part of the game that they're mostly spending their time tweaking. Anyway, it's just frustrating. We could probably do a whole episode on the action economy of 5th edition.
We haven't done that yet. That's a thing. Yeah, we got to talk about it.
Anyway, so conclusions: jumping as an action feels really bad, but a lot of changes that I really liked in this one. Love the feats, love the new abilities for the ranger. Love a lot of the small reworks. And I guess at the end of the day, if we're getting a lot of small reworks, more of them are good than bad. So,
yeah, mostly this was good. I mean, I complained about a lot of things, but ultimately all the classes stayed the same or got better, and there were some cool changes. So, I'm for it.
I guess we're going to be doing these a lot now, in that we're getting one of these a month, and we've got to like really everyone out there, not just Rob and myself, has to steel themselves for just 6 months of this.
This is what we're talking about, folks.
It's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
So,
and Rob and I will be here in Mana Energy Drink Studios, chugging our Mana Energies and continuing to report on each of these with some thoughtful thoughts.
That's what we're here for, folks. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have thoughts, questions, concerns, you know where to find us. Stay healthy, stay safe, and keep rolling them dice.
Shake, 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 Sinora, shake your body line. Shake, 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 Sinora, shake it all the time. Work, 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 Sinora, work your body line. Work, 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 Sinora, work it all the time. My girl's name is Sonora. I tell you, friends, I adore her. And when she dances, oh brother, she's a hurricane in all kinds of weather. Jump in the line, rock your body on time. Okay, I believe you, jump in the line, rock your body on time. Okay, I believe you, jump in the line, rock your body on time. Okay, I believe you, jump in the line, rock your body on time.